That day, some new pieces had just arrived. Besides wanting to get closer to the Yu family, some of the ladies at the banquet also had the goal of being the first to acquire new items. Among the new pieces, a free-form jade bangle wasn't particularly conspicuous, especially since its material couldn't rival the brilliance of gemstones. Only Mrs. Huang had glanced at it several times. The most valuable part of that bangle was the base jade material. As the saying goes, gold has a price, but jade is priceless. Not to mention it was carved from a single piece of mutton fat jade, incredibly smooth and lustrous. In the end, Mrs. Huang didn't buy the jade bangle, becoming one of the few who left the banquet empty-handed. After hearing her story, Yuanzhou immediately understood what she meant. You want to start with Mrs. Huang? Yunyan nodded. Since our ultimate goal is the partnership, we can't burn our bridges with Huang Jifa. Compared to digging up his mistress hidden away in Beishur, it's better to manage public relations with his wife. Although Mrs. Huang is a full-time housewife and doesn't seem to be involved in Huang Jifa's business, her own family is quite prominent. No matter how outrageously Huang Jifa behaves outside, he wouldn't dare bring any of it home. Yuanzhou finished the glass of water. Though some of the alcohol's effect had dissipated, his stomach still felt uneasy, and the water made it churn violently. He endured the discomfort and said, I didn't realize you knew so much. Yunyan sighed. How are you feeling? You should get some rest first. Yuanzhou shook his head, clutching his stomach. I feel sick. I want to throw up. With that, he tried to get out of bed. Yunyan rushed forward to support him, but he waved her off, pushing her away before stumbling into the bathroom. Soon, the sound of him vomiting could be heard. He was retching violently. Knowing he would be embarrassed, Yunyan didn't go in. She leaned against the bathroom door and waited until it went quiet inside before knocking. Feeling any better? I should have made you a hangover soup to drink first. Yu Zhuanzhou's weak and feeble voice came from inside. A little better. A moment later, the sound of running water came, splashy and loud. He was rinsing his mouth. Then the door opened. Yunyan was still leaning against the wall and turned her head to look at him. The fringe on his forehead was wet, a few strands hanging down, which made him look rather docile. Yunyan heaved another heavy sigh. What am I going to do with you? She reached out and pulled at his collar, exposing a large patch of his neck, his skin still a little red. I can't even tell you to drink less. Doing business here in Beishur is all about drinking culture. I'm worried about your tolerance for alcohol. She added, let me teach you a trick. Next time you feel a little dizzy, just pretend to be drunk. Don't be so earnest and drink yourself to death. Yuanzhou nodded, leaning there weakly. After a long moment, he said, Yunyan, I'm hungry. Can you keep anything down? Yuanzhou said softly, I've been drinking all night. Yunyan slapped his shoulder. Aren't you something? Drinking on an empty stomach is so bad for you. Yuanzhou caught her hand, laughing softly. I'll be more careful next time. All right, I'll go make you something to eat. You go back to bed and rest. Yuanzhou shook his head. No, I reek of alcohol too much. The smell is making me sick. I'm going to take a shower first. Don't fall over and hit your head. Yuanzhou smiled. I won't. I'm much more clear-headed now. Seeing that he was mostly sober, Yunyan let him be. She didn't know if he could smell the alcohol on himself, but she was certainly getting sick of the stench. She went to the dressing room to get a set of spare loungewear he kept there, but still said worriedly, Call me immediately if you feel unwell. If I call you, are you going to come in? Yuanzhou teased. Yunyan snorted. I'll just call an ambulance directly. Yunyan made some hangover soup, a simple congee, and a few light side dishes. All things that were quick and easy to prepare. By the time she was done, Yuanzhou had come out of the bathroom, changed into clean, comfortable loungewear, his hair still wet and left to air dry. He looked even more like the boy next door. He leaned against the wall, looking drained. When Yunyan walked over, he naturally wrapped his arms around her. Yunyan caught him, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. He was getting all clingy now that he was drunk. The smell of alcohol had mostly dissipated, replaced by the scent of her body wash, a mix of soap and milk, a clean and warm fragrance she usually loved. On Yuanzhou, it had the effect of making him seem younger, especially when he lowered his head to eat the congee, dressed in his light gray loungewear, looking like a high school student. A few mouthfuls of congee finally settled his stomach. He then drank the hangover soup and let out a long sigh of relief. Every time Dad came home drunk, he could always count on Mom's hangover soup, he said softly. It's a good thing you know how to make it. Yunyan chuckled. It's so rare for us to know how to make anything. It was a good skill for me to learn. Yuanzhou finished the bowl of congee, stopping when he was about 70% full. After rinsing his mouth, he had completely recovered and had the energy to talk about Huang Jifa again. How did you know Huang Jifa has a mistress in Beishur? This was indeed true. He had also found out. It wasn't that he, Yuanzhou, didn't know how to use such underhanded tactics. He had some dirt on Huang Jifa, after all. Their past cooperation, though brief, meant it wasn't impossible to dig up some information. But just as Yin had said, if their goal was a long-term partnership, some lines couldn't be crossed, and some leverage couldn't be easily used. A partnership requires both parties to be willing. If even one side holds a grudge, the collaboration will be awkward and inevitably cause trouble down the line. Yin said softly, "It was mostly a guess, actually. I couldn't produce any real evidence." She took a small sip of water, not daring to drink too much late at night, or her face would be puffy the next day. Every time Huang Jifa comes to Beishur, he stays for quite a while, which is strange. He doesn't have any businesses here, nor does he seem to have plans to expand his operations. More importantly, Yin put down her glass and continued in a low voice. Although Huang Jifa didn't attend the jewelry auction in person, he had someone secretly bid on a necklace for him. It wasn't particularly valuable or a legacy piece. It was one of the lowest priced items in the entire auction, but it was perfect for a girl in her early 20s. Yuanzhou chuckled. And then, what a coincidence. A young model who debuted less than 2 years ago was seen wearing that very necklace. Xiaomin happened to spot her. Xiaomin thought the necklace looked familiar, so she had someone look into it and found out about the model's relationship with Huang Jifa. Yuanzhou smiled without saying a word. "I was wondering if Mrs. Huang knows about this," Yin mused. Yuanzhou said, "You just mentioned how often Huang Jifa comes to Beishur. I imagine his wife knows what's on his mind better than anyone. So she just turned a blind eye?" Yuanzhou considered it. "Not exactly. I heard Mrs. Huang is coming to Beishur in the next couple of days." Yin was surprised. Is she going to catch them in the act so openly? "It's more for intimidation," Yuanzhou said. Min Jie was right. The necklace the model was wearing is the one Huang Jifa bought. Although it wasn't the most expensive item at the auction, he still threw away over $1 million for it. He added, "I heard in the past, the gifts Huang Jifa gave women were at most bags worth 100 or 200,000. The most expensive never exceeded $500,000. This time, he actually spent over $1 million at an auction. How could Mrs. Huang not be worried?" Yin understood. It seemed Mrs. Huang wasn't unaware. She had simply tolerated his minor dalliances in the past. The reason she was anxious this time was likely fear that Huang Jifa had developed real feelings. Once something threatened her position as Mrs. Huang, she was bound to take action. Yuanzhou finished the rest of the kanji. "But you really did remind me of something. I still need to meet Mrs. Huang, but..." He looked up at Yin. "Which free-form jade bangle? Why don't I have any memory of it? You used to be just like Dad. Neither of you focused on the jewelry business. How would you have noticed?" That was true. Yuanzhou didn't deny it. "Can we still find that bangle?" he asked. "Yes," Yin said confidently. "I've checked. It's at a small-scale auction house, which is why it hasn't been sold yet." Yuanzhou was thoroughly impressed. He stared at Yin for a long time. "You're amazing. Others take 10 steps. You take 20. Yin smiled. "You can praise me more. After all, a person who can endure slander can also accept praise." "I'm genuinely impressed," Yuanzhou said sincerely. On this matter, Yin had thought much further ahead than him, calculating every move. "You don't have to be so impressed. My biggest fear is that this will all turn out to be just talk." Yin pointed out the practical problem. Mutton fat jade is rare and expensive now, and the material for that bangle is long gone. So, if we want that bangle, we'll have to spend a considerable amount of money. The funds in the company's account were currently stretched thin. Every expense had to be carefully calculated. "I can still afford a single bangle," Yuanzhou said after some thought. "As long as it helps us achieve our goal, the money won't be wasted." Yin nodded. "Xiaomin knows people at the auction house. When it's morning, I'll ask her to see if we can negotiate the reserve price down a bit." Yuanzhou grunted in agreement. He said nothing more, looking tired. Yin had originally planned to bring up Si Tinji, but she was afraid of touching upon the sensitive topic of Jiang Yin, so she decided against it for now. She urged Yuanzhou to go rest, but he reached out and gently took her hand. To be precise, he interlocked his fingers with hers. The gesture startled Yin. "Thank you." Yuanzhou's voice was low and gentle, his gaze just as soft as he looked at her, reminding her of a moonlit spring night. "It's so good to have you here with me." Yin sighed softly. "What silly things are you saying? You're my family. If I'm not here for you, who will be?" A faint smile touched the corners of Yuanzhou's eyes, but his lips stiffened slightly. The next day, Yuanzhou went to the same shop to buy breakfast again. He left before Yin woke up to eat. He still needed to have a backup plan for the factory issue. While Huang Jifa was the best option, if that fell through, the Yu family couldn't afford to put all their eggs in one basket. Yin had slept in 2 shifts. She woke once just as the sky was getting light, sent a message to Xiaomin about the bangle, and then groggily fell back asleep. By the time she woke up again, the sun was high in the sky. Xiaomin called while she was eating. "Forget about the bangle. It's gone." Yin's heart sank. "What did you mean, gone? Was it broken?" "No, someone bought it," Xiaomin said. "Weren't you just trying to buy a gift?" Does it have to be that specific bangle? I have plenty of good stuff here. For a rich man's wife. How about a global limited edition handbag? It's a good thing I never had it engraved. Yunyan said a handbag wouldn't work. It wouldn't matter if it was a global limited edition or even made of solid gold. The meaning behind the gift would be different. She asked Xiao Min, "You're telling me to choose a different gift. Does that mean you know who bought the bangle?" The story of Jiang Yinyan buying the naturally formed jade bangle must be traced back to the day of the jewelry appraisal banquet. The hotel Mora was staying at happened to be right next to that auction house. She went in for a look, and eventually her eyes fell upon that bangle. Xiao Min knew the owner of that auction house. After some inquiries, she learned the inside story. Not long after Miss Mora left the auction house, someone bought the jade bangle. That person was Jiang Yinyan's driver, old Lu. Wasn't that at Jiang Yinyan's behest? Xiao Min said. Needless to say, he must have known Mora liked it, so he bought it for her. Don't be fooled by how small that auction house looks. It wasn't even officially authorized to conduct a proper sale yet, which is why Mora couldn't just take the bangle with her at the time. All morning, Xiao Min's words replayed in Yunyan's mind. The question that kept coming to her was, what now? What now? Jiang Yinyan must have bought the jade bangle as a gift for someone, right? Otherwise, what would a grown man want with a bangle? If he was giving it to Mora, should she contact Mora and ask if she would part with it? Mora wasn't sure of money, so buying the bangle from her was definitely out of the question. Exchange? Yunyan had a headache. Someone of Mora's standing surely lacked nothing, and even if she did, Yunyan wouldn't have anything to offer in return. Thinking of it, Jiang Yinyan truly was her nemesis. It felt like he was constantly getting in her way, and the feeling was utterly awful. But it seemed he still cared about Mora, first with the jade bangle, then with that priceless necklace. Their good news must be close at hand. Yunyan suddenly remembered what old Lu had said. Jiang Yinyan's stance didn't look like he didn't want to get engaged. It was truly a case of the emperor isn't worried, but the eunuchs are. Old Lu had been worrying for nothing. Her chest felt heavy, stifled, all because of that naturally formed jade bangle. Mora's number lay silently in her phone. Yunyan pondered whether to call it. Once she did, how would she make small talk, and how would she subtly extract information? Just as she was thinking, the doorbell rang, interrupting her thoughts. Peeking through the peephole, Yunyan froze slightly. The doorbell stopped, replaced by knocking. Yunyan, I know you're home. Please open the door. I have something urgent to discuss with you. Yunyan hesitated for a moment. The knocking was urgent. Yunyan. Playing dead was probably impossible now. Jiangze coming to her door in broad daylight meant he was quite sure she hadn't gone out. She opened the door. Jiangze looked a bit haggard, which Yunyan hadn't expected. Can we talk inside? It's not good to stand at the door like this, Jiangze said softly. Yunyan subtly stepped aside, and Jiangze entered the house. After coming in, he first spotted a suit jacket on the armrest of the sofa. He froze, then frowned. Whose is that? As soon as he spoke, he started towards the bedroom. Yunyan subtly blocked him, her tone indifferent. What are you doing? I want to see who's in there, Jiangze said, displeased. Jiangze, does it concern you who's in there? Yunyan's attitude was cold. Don't you have something urgent? Say it quickly, and then leave. I have other things to do. I don't have much time to entertain you. Jiangze pointed furiously towards the bedroom. No time to entertain me? Are you rushing back in to be with a man, then? A fire ignited in Yunyan's heart, blazing up but repeatedly suppressed by her. She didn't want to argue with him. An argument would only disadvantage her. She said, Jiangze, just state your business. Jiangze gritted his teeth. How can I state my business when you're hiding a man in your house? Yunyan met his gaze. The day Ajo had his accident, I called you. How did you discuss matters with me in front of GZ? Jiangze's expression turned ugly. So, just say what you need to say. Yunyan gestured towards the sofa, inviting him to sit back down. Jiangze scrutinized her for a long time, then glanced at the bedroom again, his face still displeased. But he didn't force his way in, a testament to his pride as someone from a prominent family. He sat back on the sofa and looked at the jacket on the armrest again. Just as he reached for it, Yunyan stepped forward, took the jacket, and placed it on the storage cabinet. Jiangze suddenly smiled. That's you Zhuanzhou's clothes, isn't it? Yunyan didn't respond. And he's already left, hasn't he? Even if Jiangze seemed lackadaisical, he was still a Jiang, and sharp eyes were hereditary. If he were still here, he wouldn't hide when another man entered. Jiangze, are you here to waste my time? Jiangze seemed to drop the jacket matter, and his whole demeanor lightened. Yunyan, I came today to talk about us. Yunyan sat on a single sofa, facing him. Seeing this, Jiangze gave a helpless chuckle. We had a good run, didn't we? Even if a deal falls through, goodwill remains. What's more, we were at the stage of discussing marriage, so you don't need to keep your distance from me, do you? Although Jiangze could be a bit of a scoundrel sometimes, his good looks were undeniable, so he wasn't entirely irritating. Yunyan remained still, replying, "Since the engagement is called off, it's better if we keep our distance." Jiangze opened his mouth, and it was clear that his emotions flared for a moment before he suppressed them. He sighed heavily, his voice softening. "Yunyan, I came specifically to talk about calling off the engagement. Can we not cancel it? I know what you're worried about, but I promise you, none of your worries will come to pass." Yunyan looked at him. "What do you think I'm worried about?" "The huge disparity in our family's current situations. You're afraid that if you marry into my family, you'll become a tool to be used. Isn't that true?" Yunyan asked. Jiangze looked at her. "Yes and no." Yunyan smiled. "Here's the thing, Jiangze. I think there's no longer any need to discuss whether to call off the engagement, is there? As long as the Jiang family doesn't agree, our engagement isn't truly off." The expression in Yunyan's eyes remained unchanged. "I used to care a lot about this, urging the Jiang family to nod their agreement. But later, I had a change of heart. Whether the Jiang family agrees or not is no longer important to me. I, for one, will definitely not marry you." Before, she truly just wanted to break it off quickly, cleanly, and never have anything to do with him again. Jiangze pressed his lips together, not as exasperated as before. He simply said with a heavy sigh, "Nyin, I came today to talk about us. Can we not cancel it? I know what you're worried about, but I promise you, none of your worries will come to pass." Yunyan waited for him to speak. "I must get married as soon as possible, and I believe you understand the reason. On this point, I cannot deny that I have indeed used you." It was rare for Jiangze to be so frank with her. This was unexpected for Yunyan, so she didn't interrupt him for a moment. "But Nyin, I don't want to choose another woman, and the reason I don't want to cancel the engagement is more because I like you. Also, Grandma has always held you dear to her heart. Do you think you would suffer any injustice if you married into our family?" Jiangze sighed. "The original purpose of our arranged marriage was for our two families to achieve balance and mutual assistance. Right now, I need a marriage to solidify my position, and the Yu family's current situation also urgently needs to be resolved. If you say I've used you, then similarly, you can also use me, can't you?" Yunyan chuckled at his words. Jiangze saw her reaction and was puzzled. "Am I wrong? You're quite right, and you've painted a very appealing picture." An ordinary young girl hearing these words would agree without a second thought. Not to mention Jiangze's handsome and dashing looks. Just seeing his face was pleasing to the eye. And purely from the perspective of benefits, Jiangze's words sounded flawless. But Yunyan was not an inexperienced girl. Painting a picture, Jiangze looked at her. "Do you think I'm lying to you?" "Nyin, what I'm saying is all true. They are facts, and it's true that Grandma Jiang likes me. But, Jiangze, an arranged marriage is about the interests of two families. The Yu family situation is clear. If I marry into the Jiang family, I won't be able to provide matching resources. Am I merely to serve as a tool to help you contend for power? Jiangze, I don't have that much confidence that this alone will guarantee a worry-free life." She grew up in wealthy circles. To put it plainly, an arranged marriage requires both families to be capable of mutual benefit. If one side is weak, it's bound to plant landmines in the future marriage. An arranged marriage is a union, not charity. How many wealthy wives seem to be thriving on the surface, but are actually dependent on their husband's goodwill at home? This happens either because they lack the ability to help their husbands build an empire, or because their maternal family cannot match the strength of their marital family. She had seen too much of it. The current Yu family was a bottomless pit, exposed on all sides. The Jiang family could offer temporary support, but more importantly, the Yu family had to rely on themselves. It wasn't a case of it's good to rest in the shade of a big tree. Not all big trees could be relied upon. Most importantly, her father's dying wish. He must have known something to insist she cancel the engagement. Jiangze hung his head in dejection. "Nyin, I know you're thinking realistically, but our relationship is inherently realistic. You can state your terms, as long as we don't call off the engagement." Yunyan said, "State terms?" "Yes, since you feel insecure, then state your terms. What would it take for you to marry me?" Yunyan didn't want to marry him at all. She said, "Let me ask you, how many more shares will you get after marriage?" "Another 20%, Jiangze said. Yunyan looked at him. "Marriage is possible. All the shares you obtain after marriage, including those you currently hold, must be transferred to me. And you cannot get a prenuptial agreement." Jiangze looked at her in astonishment. "Well, can you agree?" Jiangze said, "You have quite an appetite. I have to provide some assurance for the Yu family, after all." Jiangze pressed his lips together, his jawline gradually stiffening. "If you have no other intentions, then what does it matter if marital assets are in my name?" Yunyan said softly. Jiangze looked at her. "Nyin, do you love me or not?" "I once liked you, otherwise I wouldn't have agreed to the arranged marriage," Yunyan answered directly. but my good feelings for you have been entirely squandered by you. So Jiangze, the conditions I just stated were merely a test. You demand pure feelings from me, but what about you? Any hesitation on your part shows uncertainty about this marriage, doesn't it? Jiangze was speechless for a long time. Jiangze, emotions and promises are not suitable for you, nor for me. So instead of drawing empty pictures, let's talk about something tangible. You need me, so I demand compensation. What's wrong with that? It's just that my price will be a bit higher. Yunyan saw through the issue clearly. A bit higher? Jiangze's face turned cold. You're planning to take my entire fortune. Then what about you marrying me? Yunyan's mind remained clear. The reason you still want to continue this arranged marriage is simply because you think marrying me is the lowest cost option, isn't it? Yunyan, don't use your I like you rhetoric as a pretext. If you like me, then give me everything you have. It's that simple. The rest is non-negotiable. Yunyan stood up, indicating it was time for him to leave. Jiangze didn't get up. He stared at her for a long time, then suddenly said, Yunyan, if I agree to all your demands, will you marry me? Yunyan was slightly taken aback. Jiangze sneered. So, it's the same. Aren't you also hesitating? Yunyan, ask yourself, do you truly want to marry me, or are you deliberately setting harsh conditions to make me back down? Yunyan replied coldly. So we're not suitable for each other, Jiangze. We can't see eye to eye, so let's end it here today. Then who are you having intimate conversations with? Or rather, who have you already been secretly involved with? Jiangze asked coldly. Yunyan didn't get angry. That's my business, Jiangze. Jiangze abruptly stood up, his face ashen. Yunyan met his gaze and said, Our discussion has reached this point today. There's no room for our relationship to turn around. So Jiangze, it's time to let go. There's no point in dragging this out further. You go your way, and I'll go mine. From now on, we'll keep to our own sides. Jiangze stared at her with icy eyes, then suddenly laughed. All right, Yunyan. I never knew your heart could be so hard. You think you're immune to consequences now, don't you? It's not immunity to consequences. It's that the barefoot aren't afraid of those with shoes, Jiangze. Let's part ways amicably, so we don't end up embarrassing each other. Jiangze narrowed his eyes slightly and gritted his teeth. Fine, Yunyan, you're cruel. Remember what you said today, and don't regret it later, or come begging me for anything. Yunyan smiled faintly. All right. Jiangze's face grew even more mortified with rage, his eyes blazing with fury, as if he wanted to burn her to ashes. He stood frozen in place for a while, then took a step forward. Seeing him about to leave, Yunyan subconsciously sighed in relief. She walked to the entryway, intending to open the door for him, but out of the corner of her eye, she suddenly caught sight of something amiss. Before she could turn around, a sharp pain shot through her neck. She instinctively let out a choked cry of pain, her mouth open but unable to utter a sound. It was Jiangze. He seemed to be holding a syringe, its fine needle piercing her neck. Her first thought was a lethal injection that could cause sudden death. She wanted to struggle, wanted to rip open the door and call for help, but her entire body had gone limp. As soon as Jiangze pulled the syringe out, Yunyan slumped limply to the floor. She had no strength left to get up. It felt like a cold current poured in from her neck, then transformed into sharp blades that repeatedly carved out all her bones, leaving only a husk of skin on the ground. Her consciousness gradually faded. Jiangze bent down, scooped her up, and sneered, Don't think I don't know who you're messing around with, Yunyan. You dare to cuckold me? You must be tired of living. His tone was icy. Aren't you just a cheap slut anyone can have? I'll damn well toy with you to death today. Let's see what's so noble about you. Yunyan's mind was hazy and her body was powerless, allowing him to carry her into the bedroom. A desperate voice echoed in her heart. He's going to destroy me. Yuan Zhou was entertaining clients at the city's most prestigious restaurant. He arrived early, intending to finalize the menu and flavors. Today's clients were from the Jiangnan region, accustomed to light tastes. However, while discussing with the restaurant manager, he felt an inexplicable panic. At first, he thought it was due to a hangover, but after a while, the anxiety intensified. It felt like a physical discomfort, but more so a psychological one, as if something was about to happen. He paused his conversation with the restaurant manager and stepped outside to call Yunyan. He didn't know why he felt compelled to call Yunyan. He just wanted to hear her voice, as if only her voice could reassure him. The call didn't go through. Yu Zhuanzhou's heart sank further. His assistant urged him, saying the clients were about to arrive. Unable to leave, he called Xiao Min. Xiao Min was in a topic meeting. She stepped out to answer Yu Zhuanzhou's call and comforted him. She probably didn't hear it. I called her this morning too. Yuan Zhou heard his assistant calling him, and Xiao Min, overhearing, said, You go ahead and deal with your work, I'll call her. Yuan Zhou thanked her. The clients arrived as scheduled. They had previously dealt with Yu Yuan, So they attached great importance to Yu Juanzhou's invitation. As soon as they were seated, Xiao Min sent a message, knowing he was busy, so she sent it as text. Don't worry, your sister went out. Said she went to the supermarket. It was too noisy around her, so she didn't hear her phone ring. Yuanzhou quickly replied, Okay, got it, thank you. Xiao Min promptly sent back 2 words, You're welcome. A moment later, Yu Juanzhou's phone received another message, this time from Yunyan. She asked if he needed anything, saying she was out and hadn't heard her phone ring. Yu Juanzhou had clients, so it was inconvenient to say too much. He quickly typed, As long as you're fine. If you need anything, tell me, I'll bring it to you. It'll be too heavy for you to carry. A short while later, Yunyan replied, It's fine, I bought everything. Seeing this, Yu Juanzhou's anxious heart finally settled. Yunyan felt like she was sinking into a deep pool, watching as the icy water enveloped her. She felt suffocated, unable to breathe, as if something was constricting her. Gradually, she heard her own heartbeat, thumping as if it was about to burst from her chest. Her consciousness remained in a state of flux. Everything she saw seemed both real and unreal, until she suddenly opened her eyes. For a moment, she was suffocated, as if even her heart had stopped beating. Then came gasp after gasp, air rushing into her lungs, making her cough. Jiang Yinyan, lying in a hospital bed, put down his phone. The phone screen was still on his conversation with Yuanzhou, but it soon turned black. He looked at the sofa. Yunyan was hunched over the armrest, coughing incessantly, her face flushed red. Jiang Yinyan's expression was not good. He got out of bed, accidentally aggravating his wound, which made him wince in pain. Old Lu heard the commotion and immediately came in from outside. Seeing Jiang Yinyan out of bed, he quickly stepped forward. Young Master Yin, let me do it. My injuries are nothing. Go out, Jiang Yinyan commanded. Old Lu was still worried about his wound, cautioning him to be careful, and then left. Jiang Yinyan sat down on the sofa and gently patted Yunyan's back. He didn't speak, just patted her back patiently, one gentle pat at a time. It took Yunyan a long time to recover. Her windpipe felt like it had been smoked, and her head was still dizzy and swollen, making her feel nauseous several times, but it was different from the feeling of being drunk. She remembered what happened before she lost consciousness, and suddenly raised her hand to touch her neck, then looked around. It was familiar. Then she saw Jiang Yinyan. She was stunned at first, then her breathing gradually became rapid, and her anxious heart surprisingly settled. She subconsciously looked around again. Jiang Zhe was nowhere to be seen. This was a hospital. Yinyan tried to recall, but all her memories stopped at the moment she was pricked by the needle. What happened after that? Jiang Yinyan. She was a little unsure of what her eyes were seeing, fearing it was an illusion. Her head was still very dizzy, and even Jiang Yinyan's face looked a bit blurry at this moment. She instinctively raised her hand to touch him. Her touch landed on Jiang Yinyan's face. Her palm was warm, and she could clearly feel the man's high nose bridge. Was it real? Perhaps Jiang Yinyan hadn't expected her to reach out and touch him. When a woman's soft hand touched his cheek, there was a momentary look of slight astonishment in his eyes. Is it you? Yinyan squinted slightly, seemingly trying to see him clearly. Jiang Yinyan initially let her touch his face, but the woman's fingers were soft, her delicate fingertips carrying a fragrance. He felt a familiar heat rising in his lower abdomen, so he pulled her hand away. Even after pulling it away, he didn't let go, just gently held her hand. It's me. How are you now? Jiang Yinyan asked softly. Yinyan lowered her face, still feeling weak all over. Jiang Yinyan's voice was low, and it was unexpectedly alluring when it entered her ears. She felt her heart beat faster, and her breathing also became a little rapid. Why am I here with you? Yinyan asked weakly, thinking, could it be Jiang Yinyan's doing? But that was impossible. Jiang Ze's state at the time was very obvious. He did it himself. She seemed to recall some memories. At that time, when Jiang Ze threw her onto the bed and unbuckled his belt, pressing down, she seemed to have resisted, pushing him with all her might, and then stumbled off the bed. She couldn't remember if she had screamed for help. These meager, fragmented memories made her head ache when she thought of them. Someone was watching Jiang Ze. He was upstairs for too long, so the person watching him went in to check. Jiang Yinyan saw her body sway slightly and reached out to steady her. How are you? Are you feeling unwell anywhere? I have no strength at all, nauseous, and want to vomit. Yunyan's voice was airy. Want to vomit now? Yunyan shook her head. Can't throw up. She raised her hand and pressed her chest. Jiang Yinyan leaned back against the sofa, reaching out to pull her in. Lean on me. Yunyan was still quite stubborn. Your injury isn't healed yet. Lean on me. Avoiding the wound, Jiang Yinyan said helplessly. Yunyan also had no strength, and when she lowered her head, she felt dizzy. It would be a waste not to take advantage of the available comfort. She leaned on Jiang Yinyan's uninjured shoulder. His familiar scent, mixed with a faint smell of disinfectant, made her feel much more at ease. "Were you watching Jiang Zhe or me?" she asked softly. "Whether I was watching anyone or not, if no one had broken in, you would have suffered already." Jiang Yinyan frowned deeply. "Why did you open the door for him? You're home alone. Do you have no sense of precaution?" Yunyan felt speechless, wondering how she was supposed to be cautious. She was in her own home, and Jiang Zhe wasn't a stranger. In the past, Jiang Zhe used to walk in and out of her house as if it were his own. How could she have expected him to use such despicable methods? But wait, what did he inject me with? Yunyan shuddered. What did he inject me with? Jiang Yinyan held her shoulders, pressing lightly to calm her anxiety and tension. "It's fine now, don't worry." "It's fine." Yunyan was still feeling uneasy. Jiang Yinyan said above her head, "In short, you're safe now. But I'm still very dizzy. The drug effect might not have worn off yet. Rest for a while." Seeing that she still seemed very nervous, Jiang Yinyan added, "This is a hospital. If there's any problem, we can call a doctor for you anytime." Yunyan shuddered, raising her face to look at him. What kind of problems could there be? Jiang Yinyan was stunned for a moment, then smiled. "I mean, hypothetically, you're too nervous." Yunyan looked at him. Deep in his eyes, a smile rippled like shimmering water, and the corners of his mouth curved into a sensual arc. She felt an urge, a strong desire to kiss those thin lips. She had not been without intimate moments with the owner of those lips. His touch was scorching hot, his large hands igniting sparks as they roamed her skin, burning deep into her heart. He appeared abstinent and aloof, but in bed, he transformed into a ravenous wolf, tormenting her to the brink of ecstasy and death, yet he seemed tireless. Yunyan could almost hear his low gasps of passion again, his thin lips pressed against her ear, his husky, deep voice drilling in her heart, praising in a low, hoarse tone. "You're so tight." Her breathing grew heavier, her eyes more hazy. The next moment, Yunyan fiercely pinched herself, averted her gaze, and tried to banish those inappropriate thoughts. Something wasn't right. Jiang Yinyan also noticed her unusual behavior and softly asked if she was uncomfortable. Yunyan shook her head, only saying she was dizzy and would be fine after some rest. Jiang Yinyan gazed at her, and after a moment, gently patted her shoulder. "Close your eyes for a bit." Yunyan actually didn't want to sleep here. She wanted to go home. But the thought of home sent a chill down her spine. Or even resting here, she didn't want to lean on him. His scent always agitated her. She still had many questions to ask him. What exactly did Jiang Zhe use on her? Where was he? And that jade bracelet. Could she get that jade bracelet back? She wanted to buy it. And she also wanted to ask him, "Are you really Jiang Yinyan? Is it my misconception?" Because Jiang Yinyan wouldn't smile like that. After Yunyan fell asleep, Jiang Yinyan's face grew colder and colder. He endured the pain from his wound to carry her onto the bed. The hospital bed was the size of a normal double bed. Yunyan seemed more comfortable lying on it, spreading her arms and legs. Jiang Yinyan returned to his own bed, leaning against the headboard, and turned to look at Yunyan sleeping beside him. Her cheeks were unusually flushed, making her appear delicate like a summer flower. He reached for his phone on the bedside table and sent a voice message, "Come in." Old Lu entered shortly after, paused slightly upon seeing Yunyan sleeping on the bed, then walked forward with lighter steps. "Young Master Yin." Old Lu's voice was also kept very low. "Have you found out?" Jiang Yinyan's voice was also very low and soft when he spoke. Old Lu nodded. "It's a new type of obedient water." "New type?" "Yes, mainly for aphrodisiac effect. It said that the injection form has a strong and long-lasting effect," Old Lu explained. Jiang Yinyan frowned. "Is there anything the hospital can do?" "No, it's an injection. If it were ingested, we could do a stomach pump." Jiang Yinyan's face turned grim. That beast. A moment later, what did he say? Does he have an antidote? Jiang Yinyan knew asking this was futile. He had seen too many such incidents in the past, and never heard of an antidote for such drug effects. As expected, Old Lu shook his head. "I asked no, he said it's just for pleasure, it won't kill anyone. So how could there be an antidote?" Young Master also said. Jiang Yinyan looked up at him. Old Lu seemed quite hesitant to speak. "Tell me." Young Master meant that he originally wanted to take Miss Yu home to slowly enjoy her, since the drug effect is long-lasting, Old Lu said with difficulty. But then he saw Miss Yu was disoriented and he got excited, wanting to have her right there and then. Jiang Yinyan's eyes were icy cold. He went under the pretense of discussing the annulment of the engagement. If Miss Yu had agreed to his terms, he wouldn't have resorted to such means. Old Lu glanced at Yunyan, but quickly looked away. Miss Yu's temperament is quite stubborn and firm. Jiang Yinyan lowered his gaze to look at her. She seemed to be sleeping restlessly, her brows slightly furrowed. Jiang Yinyan reached out, his thumb stroking her brow, and she gradually settled down. Old Lu saw clearly that Jiang Yinyan's gaze was very focused at this moment. It means he was prepared. Jiang Yinyan's voice was low and deep, yet it was a direct hit. Old Lu confirmed. The order date for that drug was right after the Hongyu Club incident. He paused. Young Master Yin, this is too coincidental. Jiang Yinyan suddenly smiled. It is quite a coincidence. What did my nephew say? He never dared to be too specific, but I gathered some meaning. Someone spread rumors to young master about you and miss you. Jiang Yinyan's long fingers gently ran through Yun Yan's long hair, twirling a strand between his fingers. He smiled without speaking, but there was no warmth in his eyes. He should be getting anxious, Jiang Yinyan said after a long while. Yes, especially since Miss Mora has no intention of leaving, Old Lu said. Jiang Yinyan asked indifferently, where is he? Our people sent him back to his residence. Our excuse was that old Madame Jiang likes Miss Yu, and if this incident happened, the Jiang family's reputation would be damaged. Jiang Yinyan nodded slightly, a plausible reason that could be used openly. Send him back to the old mansion. He wouldn't dare tell his family about this, so even if he's confined at home, he wouldn't dare make a sound. Have his phones been checked? Yes, no explicit photos were taken. Our people broke in early. He didn't have time to take anything. Jiang Yinyan nodded slightly. Old Lu was silent for a moment, then asked Jiang Yinyan, what about Miss Yu? Jiang Yinyan looked down at her. Just let her stay here. In her current condition, sending her anywhere would be troublesome. Miss Yu, Old Lu actually wanted to ask if she had developed any symptoms, but it involved the effects of the new drug, which was somewhat private, so he decided not to ask. As he was about to leave, Jiang Yinyan stopped him and instructed, don't let anyone in. Old Lu was stunned at first, then quickly reacted and said, understood, young Master Yin. Yun Yan's peaceful sleep didn't last too long. After the room became quiet, she started tossing and turning, and sweat began to appear on her forehead. Jiang Yinyan had actually fallen asleep in a daze before this. Perhaps influenced by Old Lu's words, as long as Yun Yan was by his side, he would feel drowsy. After Old Lu left, Jiang Yinyan looked at Yun Yan lying beside him. She was slightly curled up on one side, facing him, her face as clean as a child's. Jiang Yinyan didn't know when he fell asleep, just leaning there, not sleeping soundly. He had many dreams. There was a lot of blood in his dream, and screams pouring into his ears, making his heart tremble with fear. He walked through that vast sea of blood in his dream, where there was no light. He couldn't see a way forward, and he couldn't see a way back. It seemed like he was the only one left between heaven and earth. Then he saw a ray of light. He walked towards that ray of light step by step. But even though it was light, when he walked through it, he felt exceptionally cold, a kind of cold that could pierce his bones. Walking through that light, Jiang Yinyan actually saw himself, a young and vigorous appearance. The surroundings were desolate, and the air was filled with the smell of blood. He was surrounded by a group of people, all holding weapons, looking fierce and menacing, while he was unarmed. Someone told him, as long as you can step over these people alive, this area will be your territory from now on. He, in the crowd, took off his shirt, tore it open, and wrapped it around his hand. The following scenes were bloody and violent, a desperate struggle to survive. And then, Jiang Yinyan dreamed of the Yu family. It was the day he was brought back to the Yu family by Yu Yuan. He stood at the entrance of the garden and saw a little girl leaning against the window, looking out. She was delicate and lovely, with long hair cascading down. Her hair color seemed to glow in the faint halo, like it was sprinkled with tiny stars, a lighter hair color that made people think of yellow-haired girl. But that hair made her face look very pale, like the moon in the dark night. Yu Yuan told him that his beloved daughter had been taken hostage and was greatly frightened. I want you to stay by her side from now on, protect her well, and not let her suffer any more harm. Can you do that? He was brought back by Yu Yuan, so he listened to Yu Yuan. Even if Yu Yuan asked him to die for that little miss now, he wouldn't hesitate. But to be the young Mrs. Bodyguard, he needed to convince everyone, so he accepted the challenge. None of those bodyguards took him seriously. That year, he was still thin and weak, and to them, he was just a snot-nosed kid. But what they didn't know was that although he was still a child, the pain and hardships he had experienced before were things that ordinary people, including them, might never experience in their lives. He beat those people down, and of course, he also got injured. His mouth was bruised all over, and it was bleeding. When Yu family's young miss walked up to him, somehow, a ray of light seemed to squeeze into the darkest corner of his heart. The young miss seemed very curious about him, observing him for a long time. He thought she would ask something, but she didn't. She just reached out to him, looking at him quietly. He was stunned for a moment before he understood what she wanted to do, and hesitantly handed her the disinfectant and cotton ball. She took it and silently soaked the cotton ball in disinfectant, gently wiping his mouth. The cold disinfectant irritated the wound on his mouth, and his mouth twitched. Seeing this, she lightened her touch. Actually, he could endure this pain. He had experienced too much pain since childhood, so this injury was nothing at all. But he unexpectedly craved the warmth in front of him. The girl's hands were very small, her fingers as tender and white as scallion segments. Up close, he could even smell the milky scent on her. It was a very sophisticated milky scent, not just plain milk. It had an innocent yet charming aroma, a sweet scent of a gradually maturing girl. At such a close distance, he could see her features more clearly. She had a full forehead, subtly arched eyebrows, long and upturned eyelashes, and extremely beautiful eyes that made him think of a path in a misty forest, but the corners of her eyes were slightly upturned, revealing a hint of subtle charm. Her lips were very light, perhaps related to her cool white skin. Her lips were pale pink, and her lip shape was very beautiful. He heard that she had been afraid to go out since returning home, so she stayed indoors and didn't like to bask in the sun. Her cheeks were so pale that he could see faint capillaries. The wound at the corner of his mouth was taken care of. When the young miss left, he felt a lingering warmth at the corner of his mouth. This warmth, like a chisel breaking through the hardest shell of his heart, unknowingly dropped a seed, yet he was completely unaware. Jiang Ninian opened his eyes because the person beside him became restless. He looked at the time. He had only slept for a while, but he felt as if several years had passed. Yunyan tossed and turned, her forehead gradually glistening with sweat. Jiang Yinyan's worries were coming true. He raised his hand to wipe her sweat. As if suddenly drawing warmth, Yunyan's face snuggled against him. Jiang Yinyan felt a softness in his palm. His brows relaxed. It was as if a soft, fluffy object had appeared in his hand. Jiang Yinyan looked down at her. Since their reunion, she had never been so actively close to him as she was today. But just his palm wasn't enough. Yunyan reached out and hugged his arm, her breathing a little rapid. She opened her eyes, her gaze tracing up his arm to meet the man's dark, abyss-like eyes. Yunyan. Jiang Yinyan called her name, 7 parts indifferent, 3 parts worried. Yunyan's consciousness wasn't blurred. She knew he was Jiang Yinyan. She struggled to sit up, her head no longer dizzy, but there was a fire within her, and the closer she got to him, the hotter it became, especially when she smelled his scent, which was so abstinent yet so alluring. "How are you?" Jiang Yinyan asked her. Yunyan found his voice terribly deep and pleasant, making her heart pound. She looked at him. Although he was wearing a hospital gown, his slightly open collar revealed strong muscles, seemingly exuding the powerful aura of a man's physique. She answered truthfully, "Not good. I feel terrible." Jiang Yinyan saw her flushed cheeks and her soft, boneless appearance, and knew that the drug in her body was starting to take effect. He just didn't know how much this new drug would torment her. Yunyan clutched the bedsheet tightly. Her exhaled breaths were hot. More sweat seeped from her forehead, and the fire in her body burned hotter and hotter, wishing she could shed all her clothes to feel comfortable. What's wrong with me?" Even with her lack of experience, she sensed something was wrong. Jiang Yinyan didn't hide it from her. "Remember that shot you got? The drug is taking effect now." "Drug?" Yunyan murmured, the fire in her body growing stronger. "What kind of drug is it? Didn't you say the drug was fine?" "It won't kill you." Jiang Yinyan gazed at her. "You cannot guess what Jiang Zhe wants." Yunyan understood immediately, her lips pressed tightly, her eyes almost spitting fire. If Jiang Zhe were in front of her, she would want to stab him to death. I want to go home." Yunyan didn't want to lose face in front of Jiang Yinyan. She grabbed his wrist and pleaded, "Can you ask old Lu to take me back?" Beneath her palm was the man's wrist, firm and powerful. She could feel the man's arm muscles, which made her heart beat even faster. "Ask old Lu to take you back?" Jiang Yinyan was so angry at her words that he almost spat blood. "The way you are now, I'm afraid you'll take advantage of old Lu in the car." Yunyan knew he would definitely be sarcastic. She stumbled, trying to get out of bed. I'll call a female driver to take me back. Surely that's fine." Before her feet could touch the ground, the man behind her wrapped his arm around her waist and pulled her back onto the bed. She lost her balance and leaned against him. With that lean, the embers of fire within her became a blazing inferno, and besides the heat, she also felt an itch in her chest. An itch like insects crawling. She was too embarrassed to scratch in front of Jiang Yinyan, so she could only rub it with her elbow, but it only got itchier. More and more sweat seeped from her forehead, and her clothes felt like a burden. "Just stay by my side, don't run around," Jiang Yinyan ordered her, looking down. Yinyan wanted to cry. Her chest was getting itchier. She unconsciously turned around, following his scent. When her chest pressed against his, she could feel the firm barrier of the man's chest, and for a moment, She couldn't help but rub against it gently. The itch in her chest seemed to ease a little. She couldn't help but let out a soft moan, but she felt the man's body also tense. She looked up, her gaze reaching Jiang Yinyan's chin. The curve was sensual, and for a moment, she lost control, wishing she could kiss that chin. Yunyan, you're like this? Jiang Yinyan's words were unfinished when Yunyan's kiss came. Kissing his sensual Adam's apple all the way up, this position allowed her to press more tightly against his chest. She gently twisted her slender waist, and at this moment, Yunyan felt the itch in her chest ease quite a bit. Jiang Yinyan's breathing deepened, embracing a pool of springtime passion. He lowered his head slightly, and she lifted her lips. As her red lips almost touched the corner of his mouth, he gently pulled her away, gazing at her face flushed with desire. Yunyan felt his eyes were deep and terrifyingly dark, with waves of desire subtly rising between his brows. Although his surface was calm, beneath that calm would be a frightening, emotional eruption. She felt the danger, yet she couldn't help but crave this danger. It was as if she was standing on the edge of a forbidden line, and she couldn't help but want to step towards destruction. She clearly knew who the man in front of her was, and she still clearly remembered how he had humiliated her, and how he had mocked her and trampled her dignity. However, at this moment, she had an uncanny desire for him, as if only he could save her from dire straits. She murmured, itching, so itchy. It seemed even itchier than before, like being gnawed by countless insects. Damn drug, where does it itch? Jiang Yinyan tilted his head and gazed at her, his voice deep and sensual. Like a hook, it kept tugging at her heart. She rubbed her chest, her cheeks flushed, her breathing becoming more and more rapid. She couldn't help but grab his hand, clutching it tightly, her fingers trembling. My chest. Yunyan's voice was soft and weak, yet filled with an uncontrollable craving. She wanted him to help her, and this thought was incredibly strong. Help me. She was in too much agony. The man looked abstinent, and when dressed, he was extremely aloof, with an inviolable nobility in his brows. But if she didn't know, it would be fine. Looking at him like this, she wouldn't think any deeper. She just knew. She knew his wildness after he shed his clothes, and she had tasted the suffocating pleasure his strong physique brought her. Precisely because she understood him so well, she craved him all the more at this moment. Jiang Yinyan reached out and clasped the back of her head, leaning down to ask, seemingly smiling, "Are you sure you want my help?" She couldn't let him help. She was afraid of the pleasure he brought her. However, she couldn't refuse his scent. Intense, sexy, overflowing with hormones. She grabbed his hand and pressed it against her chest, saying with difficulty, "Help me." Jiang Yinyan's breathing was heavy, the intense desire in his eyes uncontainable. She couldn't control herself, and he also seemed to be having a hard time. He pulled her head closer, his thin lips gently touching hers, and the hand on her chest exerted a slight pressure. With that pressure, Yunyan felt a little more comfortable. But this comfort didn't last long, or rather, it was fleeting. What followed was an even greater itch, the kind that got in her bones, as if she had to press very hard, wishing she could crush her bones to relieve this itch. And the itch spread throughout her body. Finally, it all concentrated in her lower abdomen. She was in agony. Sweat also began to flow uncontrollably. She couldn't help but pull at her clothes, both of their clothes. She knew he would definitely mock her and even despise her, but she really couldn't bear it. She actively straddled him, almost crying, "Ian, help me, help me." The single phrase, Ian, completely shattered the last trace of composure in Jiang Yinyan's eyes, and desire flooded his gaze. He gently restrained her restless hands, chuckling, his voice made hoarse and gravelly by overflowing desire. He said, "Don't be so clumsy, you might hurt yourself." Yunyan easily felt his change. His strength had long since awakened, a massive surge. She felt her heart melt. Jiang Yinyan rolled over, placing her beneath him. He tore away the last shred of restraint from her body, whispering, "You said you wanted my help, don't regret it." Yunyan couldn't resist the huge wave of desire surging within her and actively wrapped her arms around his neck. Jizi had been feeling incredibly stifled these past few days. All her announcements had been canceled, and all her endorsements were on hold. Even now, if she went online, she could still see posts cursing her. Fortunately, her relationship with her agent was good. Her agent only asked her to lie low for a while and wait for the storm to pass. "You have to believe me. I'll find the right opportunity for you, get you a good script, and reappear in the public eye with a proper explanation." Her agent made a plan for her. "But you must apologize sincerely when the time comes." Jeezy really didn't want to apologize to that bitch. If possible, she would have loved to tear that bitch's face off. She went to her usual club, which was secluded, and the waiters there wouldn't gossip. A few sips of coffee didn't soothe her inner indignation. The coffee was terribly bitter. She was about to call a waiter when a woman sat opposite her. A young woman, wearing sunglasses, clearly just came in from outside. GZ found it strange and became alert. Do we know each other? GZ's vigilance intensified at his words, and she frowned. Who exactly are you? She had previously paid a heavy price for speaking carelessly. At this moment, she was afraid the other party was trying to trick her into revealing information, and if she were to be put on a trending search again, her acting career would be completely ruined. The woman's beautiful lips curved slightly. She raised a hand and took off her sunglasses. Someone who can make your wish come true. GZ looked closely, astonished. You? Huang Jifa came to the hospital. He arrived early in the morning, carrying a safe. He was stopped at the entrance to the ward area, and Old Lu personally went to meet him. Huang Jifa recognized Old Lu and was flattered. After all, young Master Yan's personal attendant had come to meet him. He thanked him profusely and tried to ingratiate himself. Old Lu's attitude was indifferent. No need to thank me. If I hadn't come to meet you, you wouldn't have been able to get in. Yes. With young Master Yan's status, it's true that not just anyone can come to disturb him. Following behind Old Lu, he asked again, how is young Master Yan now? Is he feeling better? I was so worried when I heard young Master Yan was ill. Old Lu sneered, saying nothing. Huang Jifa was eagerly excited. He had finally managed to get young Master Yan to agree to a meeting, and he had to seize this opportunity no matter what. Even if the business deal didn't go through, he had to leave an impression on young Master Yan. At the door of the ward, Old Lu stopped him from going any further. Old Lu looked at his watch. It was 9 in the morning. He glanced through the window above the door into the room. The inner door was still tightly shut. After a moment of thought, he turned to Huang Jifa and said, please wait. Young Master, Yan is not convenient to see guests right now. All right. Huang Jifa didn't think much of it and nodded repeatedly. It was normal for a patient to wake up late. Seeing him standing close to the door, Old Lu said, go sit over there and wait. There were chairs by the window, and Huang Jifa obediently scurried over. Old Lu stood at the ward door with his hands clasped behind his back, expressionless.